Hello everyone, this is Jimmy and welcome to episode 11 of Trillionaire, where our energy buffer pipes, whatever, our energy cables are completely full of energy. 2.1 giga RF, or billion I believe, stored just in cables alone. That's pretty neat. Anyways, that does mean, however, that something is wrong because this system should be automatically consuming our energy when it's over 90% with the threshold I set it to. Yeah, and this is what I suspect had happened. It's very easy when using the RF monitor, or the liquid monitor for that matter, to accidentally unselect the thing you're monitoring. So if you pick it and hit escape, it keeps monitoring it. If you hit it and click off, it stops monitoring it. But wait, if set when less than, why aren't you, did I leave this on? No. Why aren't you running? Sent less, right? The power cable is less. Oh, it ran for a second. It's way less than 90% full, right? Maybe I just have this set too high. 80%? Huh. I guess it, oh, maybe it looks full at 90%, but it isn't. That's entirely possible. I don't know. But I guess we're down to 80% now. All right, whatever. Maybe this has been working. Although, no, it wasn't working entirely between episodes. Because if it was, we'd have more than 1.6 buckets of it. Right? I think it takes 4 million RF to make 1 millibucket without scrap, and it's divided by 8 or something with scrap. So yeah, this was broken. Whoopsies. Fixed now. Just make sure when you select it, don't click off here because that unselects it. You have to leave it selected and hit escape. Not selected and then click here and then hit escape. Cool. Oh well, we lost a couple days worth of UU matter production, but no big deal. Anyways, moving on. Let's see. I think there's one other system to check up on is this system running correctly. I expect all the lights to be off because all of our processing should be done. And it does look like all of our level emitters are off, which means these drawers here should just have items. Yeah, lots and lots of various, all the process forms of stuff. And if I ever use enough that I fall below the pre-subscribed thresholds that I set, I have it set to 1,000 Ardite, but I have way over 1,000. But if I ever use a bunch of it, say I just I don't know, I have some crazy building project that uses a lot of Ardite blocks, we start buying it again. The reason that I have so much over is because this system has a lot of inertia in it. Right, once it gets going crafting a certain item, like in fact what I just did there's some Ardite in a lot of these. Well, I guess I only turned it on briefly, but if you let it really ramp up, it has all the inertia of the Ardite ore stored in here, the dusts stored in here, yada yada yada. So I'm not concerned that that it overshoots by a significant margin. That's actually probably a good feature. It means that it doesn't flicker on and off very often. As for what we're going to do today, let's let the quest book guide us. So there's this whole void ore miner chain. I'm not terribly interested in anything this gets except these crystals, because I believe, like, if we look at what the tier 6 void ore miner produces, these crystals are neat. Everything else we can just buy, like all these ores. Maybe we can't buy yellow red ore, can we? Ultimately, I don't think it matters, unless it turns out that there's like some specific ore here that this thing gets that we can't buy. I don't, it's a lot of work to make it, and I'm just, let's not do that until we need it. However, I believe these crystals are used to make these solar panels. Solar panel, or yeah, which means if I want to make the high tier solar panels, we do have to make the void ore miner at some point. These solar panels just produce a boatload of energy. Then again, you know what else produces a boatload of energy? Water wheels. So maybe not. Let's leave that in the to be considered category. Moving on to this chunk of quests. This is just most of this is for the higher level processing and mechanism to get up to 5 ingots per ore. Again, ore is cheap. We can just buy it. I don't care. Nuclear craft, unless we need it for progression, there's not much that nuclear craft offers. So I think there's just the rest of the industrial foregoing machines. In fact, why did this quest never complete? Who knows? But yeah, my conclusion is there's really nothing left to do on this tech page that like we need. So I think we're ready to move on. We're 52% done quest-wise, but I think we're ready to tackle the start of the end game. Um, the end game here has a whole lot of creative items in it. By and large, I don't think I'm interested in them. My goal this pack is to become a trillionaire. So realistically, I think that means the creative fluid tank is how you become a trillionaire. So my goal is the creative fluid tank or the creative reservoir, if that's a little bit easier, because we can make creative fluids, especially UU matter, and sell that. But anyways, I'm getting ahead of myself. Right now, let's start by looking at, let's do the Draconic core, because it's probably slightly harder. This pack has a couple of Draconic core recipes, and we get to, pick our poison. So this first one here is 2 tech ingots, 2 magic ingots. However, thaumium has to be made in the crucible. In fact, I don't even have the tab for it unlocked, because I guess I don't have the research. But there is no thaumic energistics in this pack, which is the that's how you spell thaumic. Thaumm. Yeah, thaumic energistics, which is the applied energistics add-on that makes dealing with Essentia bearable, in my opinion. So I'm kind of tempted to stay away from Thaumcraft. Mana Steel is trivially easy to make. All right, so let's the thaumium or the Thaumcraft ingot makes this difficult. For some reason, this recipe to me just seems like way harder, the bottom one, than all the other ones. Void metal is just harder to make than thaumium. Resonating gems are harder to make than mana steel. Elementium is harder to make than, strictly harder to make than mana steel. And demonic slates are pretty high tier. So technically, this is like the all magic approach. It's probably self-torture, which leaves the Draconic or the middle solution. This is like the pure tech solution, and that's the one we're going to go for. So we're going to need to make large amounts of vibrant alloy, Iridium, Iridium, and thermal conducting alloy. Thermal conducting alloy does have a EMC value. However, we basically don't get the actual EMC exchange, the transmutation table stuff, for quite a while. So we're going to ignore that. All right, of these, Iridium is probably the easiest to automate because you just make it in an alloy smelter. A single alloy smelter makes it, and it actually doesn't even take a lot of energy. I don't know if this recipe was changed to take less energy, but normally it's 2 steps. First, this makes Iridium base, and then you turn it into Iridium, and it uses a lot of energy on the second one, which makes it slow. But not here. So okay, Iridium, trivially easy. Thermal conducting alloy is a bit more difficult because it has a lot of steps, but we'll come back to that one. Vibrant alloy, again, quite easy because that's just 2 alloy smelters. And Osmiridium is a little bit trickier because there is no there's only one way to make the alloy, and that's by alloying it in a tinker smeltery, and then you can withdraw the Osmiridium and harden it probably most easily in an ingot former. So let's start by setting up processing lines to passively make large amounts of Iridium and vibrant alloy. This system can automatically make alloys, largely builds on our previous system to automatically make base ingots. So I just have to configure some enemy interfaces here. Probably should link them link the P2P tunnel as well. And I always forget to do, but link that up. So the ME system will automatically provide these various ingots. We just have to configure you to pull from there, push to there, and this is a smart pull system, so it only pulls the stuff it actually needs, and then we can store it in a compacting drawer. Then get a drawer controller. I love auto crafting. Put that here, and then we can put a storage bus on that. Iridium, unsurprisingly, uses a whole lot of ender pearls. I think it's like 1-to-1 ratio. Alloy smelter. Yeah, one pearl per ingot, and my mob farm does produce ender pearls, but not nearly fast enough. So we're gonna configure you to buy them. I mean, I guess, can you buy more than a stack at a time? What happens if I ask you to do that? I don't know. Let's find out. So buy ender pearls. And I think they do compact. Yeah, they compact into blocks. All right, I guess you are allowed to buy more than a stack at a time. Perfect. So this will buy until we hit this threshold, which we should probably set to ender pearl emit below, I don't know, 2,000? 2,000 seems like a reasonable number of ender pearls, right? That probably means we have to upgrade the drawer. I don't think the drawer holds 2,000. Wait, it holds... Actually, no, because blocks stack to 64. I guess it does hold 2,000. All right. Anyways, yeah, now it'll just automatically buy ender pearls as this thing consumes them. Whenever I start setting up alloy smelters like this, I have to stop myself from going overboard. Right now I have the couple alloys we talked about, but I also added steel, dark steel, and I'm planning to do end steel, but I don't have an infinite supply of end stone yet, which necessitated the production of pulverized coal as well. But anyways, this is fully passive production of these ingots. So that's, we can check off those two. Next, let's tackle Iridium because I think it's still easier than thermal conducting. As I said, let's double check. The fluid, as far as I saw, had to be made in the Tinker's alloyer. Additionally, I don't think alloy. I don't think there is the alloy alloying tank, whatever, from Tinker's. We have to make it in a proper smeltery. So we can't just have two tanks next to each other and alloy them together. Yeah, I think we do need a smeltery. All right, so let's set up a smeltery that makes this. It doesn't have to be a large smeltery because like we can only the alloying process only, regardless of the size of the smeltery, each alloying operation, it might be per tick, only combines 1 millibucket of each into 2. So no nice secrets here. Actually, before we even get that far, Osmiridium alloy is made from, obviously, osmium and iridium. I have, osmium's easy, we can buy that. Iridium's a bit trickier because we can't buy it. Well, that's like not quite true, we can, but buying iridium straight up is not a good deal, right? Buying iridium requires 5,000 bucks per shard. Instead, I'm going to actually build a system that buys, I believe it's platinum at 150 bucks per, and then process it through a sag mill. I can find it up here somewhere. A sag mill where we have a 10% modified by grinding ball chance to produce pulverized iridium, and this pulverized iridium can be melted into the iridium for osmiridium. So I want a grinding ball that has the highest secondary product chance. I saw lumium there had 215. That's probably as high as it's gonna get because the primary product is almost trash, which is weird saying that platinum is trash. Well, just kidding. It looks like the best grinding ball for bonus output is end steel at 240%, beating out lumium at 215. So we're going to need some way to produce end steel passively, which probably requires quarrying the end for end stone. There's no other great solution for making end stone that I like. Technically, we can make it here in the fluid infuser, but it uses an ender pearl leech. I think I'd like, while that is fully renewable, we can just run a quarry in the end and grab all its end stone. It's pretty easy, right? So let's use a builder quarry because I think I saw that the quest for it was unlocked, right? It's, yeah, right here. So we can use the quarry shape card to mine out the end. On second thought, we'll try a slightly different quarry because I don't feel like doing the 30 million steps it would take to make the quarry shape card. Oh, whoopsies. So yeah, on second thought, this fluid infuser recipe to make endstone looks like it's going to be our approach here. So I'm gonna need something else to make sandstone. I know we have our, where's our cobbleworks? But it's not making sandstone, right? It's just making plain old sand. Where did I put it? Here it is. So I opted to compress sand into compressed sand instead of sandstone. So we're going to need another machine to make sandstone. Thankfully, That's just as easy as another stoneworks facility. So if we do that, and this, and plug it in, what type of energy am I using here? Just energy conduits? I can do that. This should start making sandstone. Well, it makes sand, but then we can have it just push the sand there, and yeah, that's what we want. Contrary to what I said at the start of the video, then, it looks like we will be making the nuclear craft machine chassis, and likewise, we will be scanning it to print more copies of instead of crafting additional copies. At a whopping 80 microbuckets of UU matter per. It's glorious. Alright, that's enough. Thanks. And we just have to take some ender pearls, which we buy. And let's have you buy 8 at a time, just so this thing never empties out. Buy ender pearls, melt them into liquid ender pearls, infuse them into endstone, and I guess the thing doesn't it doesn't auto extract. Alright, I'll fix that in a second. But before we do that, these nuclear craft machines also have upgrades that are buyable in the shop. So each machine needs a stack of speed upgrades and a stack of energy upgrades. You can technically not use that many upgrades, but I mean, why? They're much faster machines with upgrades, and energy is not a concern. It does use a fair bit of energy, 650 RF a tick, and almost 4,000 RF a tick. But if you use an equal number of speed and upgrade energies, speed and energy upgrades, it uses the same amount of energy per operation. It's just more power because it runs faster. Anyways, that'll make endstone. I just have to get it into the drawer. With dark steel and end steel production fully automated, or end stone production fully automated, we can put those two together into end steel. Is that not how you make end steel? Dark steel plus end stone? Oh. This is what I get for working off the top of my head. Dark steel, endstone, and obsidian. So it's like double dark. Because dark steel takes this obsidian as well. No big deal, we can buy obsidian, so this is just, however much money per each block of obsidian is. Alright, so that makes end steel. And then dash that here. No longer reserved for end steel. And then we can turn those into the grinding balls. So, set up this crafter here whose purpose is to make all of the grinding balls. Final part of the iridium chain here, we buy platinum ore as long as our iridium ingots are less than 500. Then we sag mill it with those end steel balls, so that's 240%. So normally 10% outcome, but now it's 24%. And then it produces a little bit of cobblestone, which we throw out. And all the other components go to eventually get melted here. They join up the outputs of our crushers to get smelted and stored into here. I did have to add a void upgrade to our platinum here, because now iridium, this is the first thing I'm making, right? Well, that I'm targeting a byproduct. So we're going to make a lot of platinum. And here I put in a bunch of storage upgrades and a void. Eventually that'll fill up in void, but what we're really after is this iridium up here. Alright, so that makes iridium. Now we just need to turn it into osmiridium. Using the smeltery to make alloys automatically has a fair number of challenges. First of all, you have to deal with how you melt the metals. For this, I'm actually going to melt the metals outside of the smeltery with a melter, because if you melt them in the smeltery, it's a bit harder to control what exactly melts, because different metals melt at different rates and yada yada yada. So anyways, from the start, oopsies, wrong interface. I have an interface providing osmium and iridium. Those go through an impulse hopper to guarantee that I get equal parts osmium and iridium input. Another challenge of the smeltery is that you actually can't measure most of the state of the smeltery. You can only measure how full or how much of the total smeltery does the bottommost liquid consume. You can't measure how full the smeltery is overall, and you can't measure any fluids except the bottom one. So we're going to have to keep that in mind. Anyways, for now, we melt the two metals because they're both melting in the same melter. It guarantees that, we won't melt more of one metal than the other, right? Because if one metal is melted and hasn't been taken yet, it jams the other one up. It is good behavior, intentionally set up that way. All right, so this will start filling our smeltery with osmium and iridium, which will start forming into molten osmiridium. Now we want to, I guess this process we can probably just leave on until the smeltery fills up completely, because the output is the same volume as the inputs. So as long as there's room in the smeltery for, or there will always be room in the smeltery for the output. We don't have to run, like sometimes the output is of a larger volume than the input, then you need to make sure you leave empty space in the smeltery. Not the case here. We have to guarantee that osmiridium stays on the bottom, because if we ever withdraw all of it, the new alloy forms on the top layer, I believe. And if it ends up on the top layer, it's very tricky to get it down to the bottom layer. There are some tricks you can use. Basically, if you withdraw all of the other stuff, you can get the one remaining thing back on the bottom, but it's a lot of work to, like, it's difficult to do. So easier to avoid that problem. Anyways, I'm choosing to melt the metals outside of the smeltery because then I also don't have to deal with smeltery fuel. So as this fills up with molten osmiridium, we need a way to pump it out and to harden that into ingots. I'm going to use the nuclear craft ingot former for that because it's just faster than a casting table. To ensure that we're only withdrawing fluids from the drain when there is like a plentiful amount of osmiridium, I will be using the liquid monitor from RF Tools. So I'll be monitoring the sear drain and emit a redstone signal if there's more than 30% fluid. And remember, it can only view the bottom of fluid, right? Hold on. That's not right. It managed to withdraw all the fluid. Yikes, that's not supposed to happen. Hold on, if I set this to the bottom again, does it withdraw it? No, I think I might have briefly had it misconfigured, which caused it to turn. I'm gonna keep an eye on it. But yeah, what it should do is it should only withdraw fluids when the osmiridium amount is greater than 30%. It's entirely possible actually that the drain is just, this extractor is too fast. I might have to put downgrades on it, or we can just set it to a higher amount. Let's set it to 50%. Aha. Alright, so let's keep it on it. When the osmiridium amount reaches 50%, in fact we can kind of see the approximate fullness here, it'll withdraw it, dumps it into the ingot former. Ingot former does not need power, but it does use upgrades. So I guess we'll give it energy upgrades. I don't think that actually does anything, but this hardens it into our osmiridium ingots, and then we can store those into the drawers. Yeah, the issue I had earlier with the fluid empty completely is because I think the liquid, well, I know the liquid monitor only updates once every second or so, and during that 1 second, the ender fluid conduit can withdraw a tremendous amount of fluid. So I just made the smeltery taller, set the threshold to 50%, and it can't withdraw 50% of the tank in the 1 second it takes for it to update. So now this thing is running. Now I still have to route the item back, but that's could be as simple as finding some conduits here. To turn it on and off as needed, I'll use the level emitter setup again on the impulse hopper this time. Set to osmiridium below, I don't know, maybe 1,000. With less than 1,000 ingots of osmiridium, the level emitter will turn on, which our impulse hopper is set to active with signal only. So yeah, once we have over 1,000 osmiridium ingots, the thing shuts off. All right, now I think we're really out of low-hanging fruit. Last up is thermal conducting alloy. You know, that's not true. We still have a bit of low-hanging fruit. I love going for low-hanging fruit. The extreme alloy is relatively easy. There's like this. There's a bunch of alloy smelter steps, or whatever alloy furnace steps, but that's all there is to it. I think the nuclear craft alloy furnace is actually faster than the Enderisle alloy smelter, so when given the option, I'll go with the alloy furnace. But yeah, the extreme alloy, like it's pretty strongly nested, but almost everything here is just something we can make in the alloy furnace. I guess the exception here is graphite, right? I mean, graphite we just make in a normal furnace. Very multi-step process here. So first of all, graphite and diamond makes hard carbon. Is that a song? Graphite and diamond or something? I don't know. Anyways, Then steel and boron make ferroboron. I did upgrade our steel smelter to the alloy furnace from the enhanced alloy smelter just because of how much faster the alloy furnace is. The increased energy use, whatever, energy is free. But the speed is beneficial. I'm probably not going to bother upgrading the rest of these, mostly just because it really doesn't matter. I don't use that much of all these other ingots, but steel, we use that everywhere. All right. So anyways, hard carbon, ferroboron, then ferroboron and lithium makes tough alloy. And lastly, tough alloy plus hard carbon makes extreme alloy. Well, I say lastly, but there's still one more step. And that's extreme alloy plus boron arsenide makes thermal conducting alloy. But boron arsenide is a bit trickier. So we need to make molten boron arsenide, 666 millibuckets of it. Okay, hold on. We have to chemical reactor molten arsenic with molten boron of some variety. Oh, hold on, let's pin the regular one. I think we want the non-isotope one. Well, this molten boron just comes from boron, not 10. This comes from just the boron ingots, which we already buy. Well, we buy the ore, make the ingots. Arsenic, however, has to be a bit trickier. It's crushed arsenic, which is from crushing, I guess, andesite produces... Wait, there's a couple different things here. Hold on. Oh no, it's 022, I see. So crushing andesite creates some amount of beryllium, I'm not even trying to pronounce that, and arsenic. And then we have to combine it all together. So, first we have to produce andesite. An igneous extruder is able to just make andesite from water. There needs to be lava in here, but the lava is never consumed. So, basically you get something for nothing. And then we take that andesite, put it through a rock crusher. That makes beryllium. What, does this do anything? I guess it does. Sure, I'll keep it. Whatever, beryllium, this thing I'm not going to pronounce. Those two I'll put in voided drawers. And then the arsenic, which is what this process, what we're doing this process for, I'll put up there. Alright, what does this thing I don't know how to pronounce do? It melts and then becomes alumina and silver would mix with oxygen. It becomes aluminum. See, so it's aluminum and silver. Neither of those things I care for. Okay. Anyways, now that we have the arsenic, we just have to melt it, melt some boron, and combine that into boron arsenate. So it's 2 melters and a chemical reactor. These machines put off a whole lot of particles. In fact, it's starting to get quite laggy in my processing area, but that's fine. The processing area always gets laggy. Alright, so melt the stuff, melt the other stuff, chemical react them, solidify it. Everything is upgraded out the wazoo. And that creates boron arsenide. So now, last step, one more alloy furnace to combine boron arsenide with extreme alloy to make thermal conducting alloy. And with that, thermal conducting alloy is passively being made. I believe that covers everything that goes into this version of the Draconic core. So let's go and code the recipe and start making some Draconic cores. These I'm willing to make on demand because it's just a simple 2v2 crafting or 3x3 crafting recipe. Let's see, Iridium, Vibrant, Indurium, Thermal Conducting. All right. This is exciting. So, can we start with maybe 50? Yes, we can. Effectively, everything that goes into here, right, just comes from money. So we are indirectly buying Draconic cores. Really everything in this space comes from money. I think there's no quarries of any form running. Yeah, I'm not taking anything out of the world. It's all from money. It's pretty cool. All right, we have completed step 1 of the end game. Ha ha ha. I'm sure we'll have plenty of uses for those later. But there's also one more thing I want to check up on today, and that is this system doesn't seem to... Wait, I heard you running. you've produced some UU matter since we started, but this cable is quite obviously full. And if the cable is full, why are you not running? Is my question. Possible considerations are that this cable is actually, it holds more than 2.1 billion, but the tooltip only shows 2.1 billion. It could be like a integer overflow thing. And in fact, I suspect that's what it actually is. Now that I look at the RF monitor here, we can see it's actually not full, right? And if I bump this lower, the machine does turn on briefly. So and there we go. Now we see it drop below. Yeah, I think basically, how do I describe this without being too technical? The amount of energy that is held in the cable probably goes above 2.147 billion, whatever. However, it's represented, at least when displaying, as a signed integer, that is a signed 32-bit number. So that's because it's signed, the first bit is a signed bit, right, plus or minus, and then there's 31 bits available for the number. 2 to the 31st power minus 1 happens to be just a hair over 2.1 billion, which is why I think that's why it's displaying like that. The actual energy capacity of the cable is, 1.8 billion is just about 60%, which means that the actual capacity is closer to like 3 and something billion. But we don't get to see it, which is fine. As long as that means that this system is actually running, it is actually producing UU matter, I've got no complaints. The next step in our journey then is probably the Wyvern core, and this is probably a recipe I should have looked at before I started making Draconic cores, because I kind of expected more of the usual, right? Like, it takes 4 Draconic cores to make a Wyvern core and some other stuff. No, it takes 1 Draconic core to make a Wyvern core, which probably means my Draconic core production is about 100,000 times faster than it has to be. At a 1-to-1 ratio, I probably was completely good to make every component of this on demand instead of passively. Maybe not the Iridium. Iridium is really unpleasant to make on demand, but whatever. What's done is done. So Wyvern cores are Draconic cores mixed with Primal Mana, which is another we get our choice of how to make it material. Either the tech way, again, alloying is a little annoying, but the tech way, or the magic way. But I think we'll look at this later because we are out of time for today. So next episode will be the Wyvern core. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video, and I hope to see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.